Your brain is wired to avoid discomfort, and that's exactly why you keep hitting the same wall over and over again. You watch motivational videos, you read self-help books, you make plans and promises to yourself, but when it's time to actually do the hard thing, your mind finds 1,000 reasons to do something easier instead. This isn't weakness, this is biology. But what I'm about to show you will rewire that biological response and turn your mind into a weapon of focused execution. The Lotus Method isn't another productivity hack or mindset trick. It's an ancient system that transforms resistance into flow, chaos into clarity, and procrastination into unstoppable action. By the end of this video, you'll understand why your brain sabotages you, and more importantly, how to make it work for you instead of against you. Let me tell you about David. David had everything mapped out. He knew exactly what he wanted to achieve, had clear goals written down, and even had a detailed plan. But every single time he sat down to work on something important, his mind would pull him toward his phone, toward social media, toward anything that felt easier in the moment. He'd start his day with the best intentions and end it feeling like he'd wasted another opportunity. Sound familiar? David's problem wasn't lack of motivation. It was that he was fighting against his own nature instead of working with it. He was trying to force his way through resistance instead of understanding why that resistance existed in the first place. The harder he pushed, the harder his mind pushed back. This is the fundamental mistake most people make when trying to do hard things. The ancient Eastern philosophers understood something about the human mind that modern psychology is only beginning to grasp. Your mind isn't your enemy. It's a protective mechanism designed to keep you safe from discomfort, pain, and potential failure. When you approach a difficult task, your brain interprets it as a threat and activates its defense systems. It floods you with distractions, doubts, and the overwhelming urge to do something else. But here's the key insight that changes everything. You don't defeat this system by fighting it. You transform it by understanding it. The Lotus Method begins with a principle called aware acceptance. Instead of battling your resistance, you acknowledge it. You recognize that your mind is doing exactly what it's supposed to do, trying to protect you from discomfort. When David learned this first principle, everything shifted. Instead of getting angry at himself for procrastinating, he started observing his resistance with curiosity. He'd notice when his mind wanted to avoid a task, and instead of judging himself, he'd simply acknowledge it. This isn't about being soft or making excuses. It's about working with your psychological reality instead of against it. The moment you stop fighting your own mind is the moment you can start directing it. Think of it like trying to redirect a river. You don't stand in front of it and push against the current. You create channels that guide the water where you want it to go. Your mind works the same way. Resistance is the current, and awareness is how you create the channels. Here's how you apply aware acceptance in real time. When you're about to start a difficult task and you feel that familiar pull toward distraction, pause. Don't fight it. Don't force yourself to focus. Instead, acknowledge what's happening. Say to yourself, I notice my mind is looking for an escape route right now. That's normal. It's trying to protect me from discomfort. This simple acknowledgement diffuses the internal struggle and creates space for conscious choice. But awareness alone isn't enough. The second principle of the Lotus Method is what the ancient Taoists called Wu Wei, or effortless action. This doesn't mean being passive or lazy. It means finding the natural current within effort itself. When you're swimming with the current, you move faster with less energy. When you're swimming against it, you exhaust yourself and barely make progress. David discovered this when he stopped trying to force himself through difficult tasks and started looking for the path of least resistance within the work itself. Instead of grinding through his most challenging project when his energy was low, he learned to align his tasks with his natural rhythms. He tackled complex problems when his mind was sharp and handled routine tasks when his energy was lower. Wu Wei teaches us that there's a difference between effort and struggle. Effort is directed energy moving toward a goal. Struggle is wasted energy fighting against the natural flow. A skilled martial artist doesn't overpower their opponent through brute force. They redirect their opponent's energy and use it against them. The Lotus Method teaches you to do the same with your own resistance. This is where most people get it wrong. They think doing hard things means suffering through them. But the ancient masters understood that true strength comes from finding ease within difficulty. When you're aligned with the natural flow of effort, hard tasks don't feel like battles. They feel like challenges you're equipped to handle. The third principle is what Zen Buddhism calls Zazen, or seated meditation. But don't let the word meditation scare you off. This isn't about sitting in a lotus position for hours. It's about cultivating the ability to be still with your thoughts without being controlled by them. Your mind is constantly generating thoughts, most of them automatic and unconscious. These thoughts create emotional reactions which drive your behaviors. When David learned to observe his thoughts without immediately reacting to them, he gained something invaluable: choice. He could watch his mind suggest that he check his phone, acknowledge the thought, and then decide whether to follow it or not. This isn't suppression, it's conscious selection. You're not trying to stop thoughts from arising. You're choosing which ones to engage with and which ones to let pass. Here's a practical way to develop this skill. Set aside 10 minutes each day to sit quietly and observe your thoughts. Don't try to control them or judge them. Just notice them. Watch how your mind jumps from one thing to another. Notice the difference between thoughts that pull you toward your goals and thoughts that pull you away from them. This practice develops what psychologists call metacognition, the ability to think about thinking. The fourth principle is intentional action. The Shaolin monks understood that mental clarity without physical action leads to stagnation. They combined meditation with martial arts, inner stillness with outer movement. Your insights and realizations are worthless unless you translate them into behavior. But here's the crucial point. The action must be intentional, not compulsive. David learned to approach his tasks like a Shaolin monk approaches their training. Every action was deliberate, focused, and aligned with his larger purpose. He stopped multitasking and started giving his full attention to one thing at a time. This isn't about working harder. It's about working with complete presence and intention. When you bring full attention to a task, something remarkable happens. The task becomes easier, not because it's actually less difficult, but because you're not fighting it anymore. You're fully engaged with it. Resistance comes from divided attention. When part of your mind is on the task and part of it is looking for an escape, you create internal friction. When your attention is unified, that friction disappears. The fifth and final principle is patient persistence. The lotus flower is the perfect metaphor for this. It grows in muddy water, pushing through the muck slowly and steadily until it breaks through the surface and blooms. The mud isn't an obstacle to the lotus, it's nourishment. Your challenges, your resistance, your setbacks, these aren't obstacles to your growth. They're the conditions that make growth possible. David had to learn this the hard way. He expected immediate results from applying these principles. When progress seemed slow, he got frustrated and started reverting to his old patterns of forcing and fighting. But then he remembered the lotus. Growth happens beneath the surface long before you can see it. Every time you choose awareness over reactivity, every time you find flow instead of struggle, every time you act with intention instead of compulsion, you're growing. The results will come, but they come in their own time. This is where most people give up. They expect transformation to happen overnight. And when it doesn't, they conclude that the method doesn't work. But the lotus doesn't bloom overnight. It takes time, patience, and consistent nurturing. The same is true for rewiring your brain's response to difficulty. Here's what happens when you master the Lotus Method. Your relationship with hard things fundamentally changes. Tasks that once felt overwhelming become manageable. Challenges that once triggered anxiety become opportunities for growth. You stop seeing difficulty as something to avoid and start seeing it as something to engage with skillfully. Your mind becomes a tool instead of a master. You can direct your attention where you want it to go and keep it there. You can choose your responses instead of being driven by automatic reactions. You can find the path of least resistance within any challenge, making difficult things feel natural and sustainable. But perhaps most importantly, you develop what the ancient masters called unshakable presence. You become someone who can remain calm and focused regardless of external circumstances. This isn't about being emotionless or disconnected. It's about being so grounded in your own center that nothing can knock you off balance. The Lotus Method isn't just about productivity or achievement. It's about becoming the kind of person who can handle whatever life throws at them with grace, skill, and unwavering focus. It's about transforming your relationship with difficulty from one of avoidance to one of engagement. So here's your challenge. Pick one hard thing you've been avoiding. Apply the first principle of aware acceptance. When you feel resistance, don't fight it. Acknowledge it. Observe it. Then ask yourself, what would effortless action look like here? How can I work with this challenge instead of against it? Start small. Build the habit of awareness first. Then gradually incorporate the other principles. Remember, the lotus grows slowly, but it grows surely. Your transformation will happen the same way, one conscious choice at a time. The ancient masters spent their entire lives perfecting these principles because they understood something that modern society has forgotten. The quality of your mind determines the quality of your life. Master your mind, and you master your destiny. The Lotus Method is your roadmap to that mastery. Your brain has been working against you for too long. It's time to make it work for you instead. The mud is waiting. The lotus is ready to grow. All you have to do is plant the seed. Now, let me be brutally honest with you. Everything I've just shared about the Lotus Method isn't some feel-good philosophy that you can casually apply when it's convenient. This is psychological warfare against your own limitations. And like any real transformation, it comes with a price. Here's what nobody tells you about mastering the Lotus Method. The moment you start applying these principles, your old identity begins to die. That comfortable version of yourself that made excuses, that avoided discomfort, that settled for mediocrity. It's going to fight back with everything it has. When you begin acknowledging resistance instead of fighting it, people around you will notice. They'll see you becoming calmer in situations that used to trigger you. Some will respect this new composure, but others will test it. They'll push harder, trying to get the old reactive version of you to surface. This is where your patience gets tested for real. The Wu-Wei principle sounds beautiful in theory, but in practice, it means watching opportunities that your ego desperately wants to chase while you wait for the right moment to act. It means sitting with discomfort when every fiber of your being screams to do something, anything, to make it stop. Most people can't handle this level of inner discipline. Your Zazen practice will reveal thoughts you've been avoiding for years. In that stillness, you'll face the parts of yourself you've been running from. The mind will throw everything at you: anxiety, regret, fear, anger, anything to get you to stop sitting in that uncomfortable silence. This is where most people quit. But here's the real transformation. When you push through these barriers, when you continue practicing despite the resistance, something shifts permanently. You stop being controlled by your circumstances and start controlling your response to them. Your mind becomes a precision instrument instead of a chaotic storm. The world will feel different. Challenges that used to overwhelm you will seem manageable. People will sense something different about your energy, your presence. You'll move through difficulties with a calm that others find unsettling because it's so rare. This isn't just about productivity or achieving goals. This is about becoming someone who operates from a place of unshakable inner strength. Someone who can face any situation with clarity and purpose. Someone who has learned to transmute suffering into wisdom. The Lotus Method isn't for everyone. It requires you to abandon the comfortable narrative that you're a victim of your circumstances. It demands that you take full responsibility for your inner state, regardless of what's happening around you. So here's your choice. You can watch this video, nod along, and go back to your old patterns. Or you can commit to this path fully, knowing that it will fundamentally change who you are. Start today. Pick one hard thing you've been avoiding. Apply the awareness principle. Acknowledge the resistance without judgment. Then use Wu Wei. Don't force it. Find the natural flow within the effort. Practice Zazen. Sit with the discomfort in stillness. Act with intention when the moment feels right. And above all, be patient with the process. The lotus doesn't bloom overnight. But when it does, it emerges from the mud more beautiful than anything that grew in clean soil. Your transformation is the same. The very difficulties you're facing right now are the mud that will nourish your growth. This is your moment. The ancient wisdom is here. The method is proven. The only question is whether you have the courage to become who you're meant to be.